Welcome everyone, my name is Magdalena and you're listening to Home and Heart Methods. This podcast is dedicated to all people who see themselves as sensitive, emotional, introverted, or simply easily overwhelmed with everything that is going on in the outside world. In the course of our conversations, we will try to understand ourselves better and find techniques that will first of all help us rest, regain our balance, find some inner strength, and then we will focus on techniques that can, to put it in a nutshell, help us get things done. Techniques that will be useful in dealing with everyday tasks, some small tasks like cleaning the apartment, and some big tasks like, for example, finding a new job. All of these can be challenging to all people, but I believe they are especially challenging to people who are very sensitive. In the first episode, we were talking about what is actually introversion and extroversion, and how they are connected to our feeling of tiredness, to our level of energy, to how much outside stimulation we actually need, and why we can feel so overwhelmed while dealing with the outside world. We were also discussing the importance of having a very special place in our homes that is designed for one purpose, that we can go back there, be completely alone, and rest. I believe that creating such a special place can be very helpful for absolutely everybody, but I also believe that it is even more crucial for those who think of themselves as sensitive, introverted, or easily overwhelmed. Today, we will talk about the science that can help us understand better why having too many objects around us in our homes can actually increase our level of tiredness, can lead to bigger distraction, and can prevent us from recharging our batteries even when we are alone in our private space and we are simply trying to rest. Then we will introduce a very simple, very doable technique that will help us create such a space. No matter if we live in a small apartment or if we live in a big house with a lot of people around us, with a big family, there's always a possibility of finding a bit of peace in our lives. First, let's talk about why the things we have around us are so important. Why is every object crucial for our peace of mind? To understand it better, we will refer to a study from Princeton University from the year 2011. This study showed that if we put somebody in a visually cluttered environment, in other words, if we put somebody in a room where there are a lot of things to look at, it turns out that every of these objects that we can lay our eyes on actually competes for our brain's attention, because our brain has limited capacity to notice objects. So if we have too many things around us, what actually happens is that all of them start to fight for our brain's attention, because every object wants to be noticed, so to speak. The study showed that if we are put in the visually cluttered environment, we actually think slower, it takes us longer to make decisions, we are more distracted, we have bigger problems with organizing information in our brains, and of course, automatically we get tired. So if we think that additionally we are highly sensitive, we are introverted, we are somebody who processes all the information on a very deeper level, and then we are situated in the environment when there are a lot of things around us fighting for our attention because all of the things want to be seen, want to be noticed by our brain. We can understand why we can get tired so quickly. Modern studies confirm that when we reduce unnecessary stimuli around us, whether it is visual or auditory or cognitive, we start to think more clearly. We learn better, we make fewer mistakes because we simply have um, more space in our brain that we can devote to the task because there isn't that much around us that fights for our attention. So we may say colloquially that our brain needs to kind of notice every object that we lay our eyes on. Our brain needs to acknowledge that this object exists and it needs to kind of decide how important this object is. Very often, this happens, of course, without us even noticing that or being aware of that. Our brain constantly analyzes our surrounding, first of all, to make sure that we are safe. I believe in the theory that our brain was built primarily for survival, and survival is our brain's first, more basic function. So the brain will analyze every object we see, will decide how important this object is. So the brain needs to acknowledge that every object exists. If you look around you right now, wherever you are, and you try to acknowledge, you try to understand how many things you notice at the same time, how many physical objects are actually around you, we can begin to understand how incredible and powerful our brain actually is and how hard it works every day for our well being. And if we are sensitive, the brain works even harder because every detail is analyzed even more deeply. If you are a person like me, it is possible that every detail is for you important. I have this problem that for me, every object is important, every person is important, everything that happens is important. I have a big problem with filtering out unnecessary stimulations. So it is very sad for me that this natural brain function, that is actually very beautiful, is so often used in so many marketing techniques. We may think that why would somebody pay so much money, a big sum of money, to place a billboard somewhere, right, next to the highway? We see this billboard for a very, very short time, just when we drive past it. Why would anyone pay so much for placing one picture in a one specific area, in an area we just pass through and we see this billboard for 1 second, maybe 2 seconds? The sad thing is that even in those 2 seconds, our brain will notice this billboard. Our brain will analyze what is on this billboard and it will give that picture on the billboard some level of importance so that the next time we will see the same logo, we will already think of it as on some level important, to put it very simply and colloquially speaking. That's why the money is not wasted, right? Every ad we see, even for 1 second, every logo, every short slogan we hear, it is all analyzed and acknowledged by our brain. It is very sad for me because there are numerous marketing techniques that are trying to use our best and most wonderful brain mechanisms kind of in a way against us, because we do live in the world that is very, very cluttered with advertising. And all of these adverts are constantly fighting for our attention. I like to say that they are actually fighting for our distraction because they want to distract us from what we are doing right now and redirect our attention to the company, to the product. That's why every object that we place in our homes also matters. And that's why if we have a home or an apartment that is a bit or very cluttered, it is very possible that we may find it difficult to rest there even when we come back after work and we even have some time alone. But there are simply too many things placed around us, and every time we lay eyes on them, our brain needs to do enormous work to analyze all that and give everything some level of importance. I know I talk about it in great detail, but it is something that helped me a lot in my life because when I generally reduce the number of objects I can see, so the number of objects I have on the surfaces, right? I notice that I feel calmer because it's like my brain is less distracted. I don't feel so anxious. And I understood that it's because my brain isn't trying to analyze everything and my brain isn't trying to give everything function. Because my brain, to be honest, works in a way that when I notice something, I automatically start to think if I should be using this thing right now. It's like when I notice a marker, there is a very, very small part of my brain that is thinking that, oh, maybe at this second I should be taking this marker. My brain is jumping to the function of the object, and my brain wants to follow with the action. That's why when I put more stuff simply in drawers and I left more surfaces clean, my level of general anxiety visibly lowered. But I haven't done any research on that particular issue, so I'm just sharing here my personal observation. I mean, generally speaking, like I mentioned in the previous episode, human being is a very, very wonderful, wonderful construction of millions of beautiful puzzles. So there are numerous perspectives on how to see brain, how to see clutter, how to see emotional overload. So I'm just sharing one perspective I personally agree with. But if you feel that it's not really something you agree with, it's perfectly also understandable for me. Going back to our topic, we want to create a space in our home that will be free from that extra visual clutter. First, let's just talk about visual clutter, about the things we see. So if you are a person who mm, comes back home and really you maybe you have some time to rest and you sit down, you take a cup of tea or coffee and you feel that now oh you can relax, but somehow this anxiety doesn't leave your body. You rest. Yeah, you feel that you are resting, but you don't really recharge the batteries in a way that you need to or you would like to. I would like to invite you to check if it maybe really is connected to too many objects around you. Of course, I understand that maybe you live in a home that is constantly cluttered and in chaos because you live with family. Maybe you have small children. Maybe you live with flatmates. Maybe your place is very, very tiny and you simply don't have space for all your things. You cannot hide them because you don't have a place where. Well, for people with small spaces, I would recommend getting some additional chests of drawers, for example, some closed containers where you can store the items you don't need at this very second. I moved recently to a new place that I'm renting, and it is a rather small place. There is only one room that serves both as my bedroom and my living room, but it was very intelligently designed, not by me, by the owners of this house, because there are a lot of hidden storages. There are drawers under the bed, storage spaces under the TV. There is extra storage space inside the sofa. And I must say that I learned to appreciate that a lot because I reduced the number of things I see and I feel calmer. So I would recommend that to people who live in small spaces, who are highly sensitive. Try and see. It's only one of the methods, one of the techniques you can try that can make your life a bit better. Just test it. Try and see what will happen if you remove some of the objects so that you can see a bit less, so to speak. Mhm. But wherever we live, if we live in a big house or small apartment, today we'll introduce a technique that will help us create such one clutter free space in our homes. Maybe you already know where you like to rest. What is the special place in your home you always go to when you feel completely drained, when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel angry also? What is the space that you feel best in? If you don't have such a special place, I would like to offer you this very simple experiment. Try walking through your apartment or your home and try to notice where do you feel like sitting. Just walk through your apartment, walk through your home, try to notice your feelings, where you would like to sit. What sounds good? Which place is the place ooh, that will give you this big sigh of relief? Mhm. The space can be very small. It can be just one half of sofa. It can be your desk and your chair. It can be a windowsill. It can be your favorite chair in the kitchen. If you are looking for a space where you can also do some creative work, try to think also about that. Where do you like working creatively? But most importantly, I would recommend focusing on finding the place that will give you rest, that will let you give out this sigh of relief, the place where you feel that you become completely relaxed. If you live with a family or you have small children, finding such a place is even more crucial because it will help you recharge your batteries and take care even better of your family. Hmm. So, when you find such a place, the first thing you need to do is remove all the objects from this one space. Remember to look at the space from top to bottom, from the ceiling to the floor. So, if you chose, for example, a desk and a chair, remove also the pictures that hang over the desk, remove everything from inside the drawers, remove the maybe the small carpet that is under it, remove all the objects, put them in the box, move the box to the other room. If you are a very sensitive person and at this moment you feel any twinge of guilt or fear or any uncomfortable emotion, please remember that you are not getting rid of these objects. You are not betraying anybody or anything. You are simply moving them for a moment to the next room so that the space becomes completely empty. What you do next is you sit there and check how you feel. Do you feel relaxed? Can you look around and see no extra objects? I understand that you cannot, um, look completely all around you and see no extra objects because probably your special space is just part of the room. But if you keep your head in one direction, can you find a direction where you can look and see nothing that would fight for your attention? No objects. So, what you do now is you sit there in this empty space and check how you feel. Do you feel a bit more relaxed? Do you feel that there's more energy there, or that energy is in a way clearer, let's say? It flows more easily. If you still worry about everything you just removed, remember that everything is still there, nothing is lost. It's all waiting for you in those boxes. For now, just sit in your special space and try to notice what would help you relax even more. What object you would like to bring back right now. For me, the first choice was my computer, unfortunately, because I think I'm a bit addicted. But I also do a lot of creative work on my computer, and I like working on the sofa. So my special place is my sofa, and the computer and charger need to be very close so that I don't need to get up to, for example, plug my computer in when the battery is dying. So these were the first two objects I took back. Maybe what you need is a cup of tea, always ready and available. But remember that in your special place, you cannot or you shouldn't leave a dirty cup when you are done. Maybe you need a pair of your favorite slippers. Maybe a soft blanket. Maybe a salt lamp. I like salt lamps very much. I remember I read somewhere a very interesting theory that we humans we rest really well while we are surrounded by nature, right? Biologically speaking, evolutionary speaking, we came out, let's say, colloquially, out of the woods. And now we spend over 90% of our time indoors. So we don't have that much contact with nature. But it is also proven in the research that having some plants around, having any elements that are connected to nature, maybe some rocks, maybe some small element connected with water, it helps us a lot while we are resting. It helps us recharge. We can also feel more grounded, more connected, let's say, to the natural world. So maybe you need a plant in your special area. Maybe it's a place where you would like to rest and to work. So you need some special object that you use for working. But it cannot be object that reminds you of your responsibilities. If you, for example, have a work laptop and when you take the work laptop in your hand, you feel the anxiety, right? You remember about all the things you haven't finished yet. This laptop is very important and it should have a special place in your house, but it cannot be in this sanctuary. We are creating a space for recharging, for relaxing. So the first rule is remove everything. The second rule is bring back only those things that have a clear function, and the function is connected with rest, recharging, or creative work. Because creative work can also help us rest and recharge our batteries. When you go back to your boxes, don't take two objects in your hand. Take one object, and while you're looking at this object, define its function. Why exactly do you need it in your sanctuary? If you cannot define this object's function, it doesn't belong in your sanctuary. If you are unsure, try bringing this object with you, sitting with this object for a few minutes, maybe put it in your sanctuary for a day or two, and check how you feel. Do you feel better with this object around? Do you feel more relaxed? Or maybe for some unknown reason, this object stresses you a bit. Maybe you cannot understand this reason and you feel guilty and you say, okay, that's so unreasonable because there's nothing about this object that can stress me out, so I will not remove it. Please don't worry about it and remove it. Forgive yourself, don't feel any type of guilt, just remove it. This object may have another place in your home, it's just not in this sanctuary. This is a place for relax and for recharging. The second rule for bringing the object back is that you need to have some positive emotional connection with the object or neutral emotional connection with the object. If you have something that you really love and it is useful and you need it actually to rest, but this thing is in any way connected to any type of negative emotions, maybe it reminds you of something. Maybe it's a picture with somebody you lost contact with, but you still love this person. He or she is important, so you want to keep the picture, but looking at it causes you pain or makes you feel bad. Put this picture in a different place. It doesn't belong in your sanctuary. Highly sensitive people, emotional people, can build deep connections with objects, and objects can bring out a lot of negative emotions. We often feel guilty, we often feel sad, we can feel even pain because an object can bring an avalanche of memories. So these objects are important and we will deal with them at some point, but they just don't belong in our sanctuary at this very moment. This method I'm describing here is a part of my book, Home and Heart Decluttering Method. It's a method for decluttering that says that the first step in decluttering your house, in cleaning up your house, it's actually resting. That's why I decided to introduce this method here because this podcast is for sensitive people, introverted people, and people like that have often the need for such a special space at home where they can go back and relax. If you have a generally problem with too many things in your house, if you feel that you maybe should declutter not only the special space but also your entire flat or house, and you should remove maybe half or even two-thirds of everything that is there because it's simply too much. There are, of course, numerous books available on the market with very good, very useful methods. My book is only one of them. I'm not saying it's the best one or it's the only one. Just please choose the book and the method that works best for you. Mhm. So, the last thing I would like to say here is that if you create such a special space, and you keep it clean. I mean, you negotiate with your family that, okay, the whole house can be in complete chaos, it can be messy, no problem, but this 2 square meters, they are mine. So please keep these 2 square meters clean. Don't leave toys here. The toys can be left 1 meter to the left, right, or to the right, just not on this side of the couch. It is really possible to negotiate something like that with your family, with your children also. And it's really nothing to feel guilty about because it's a very small space and it's something that will help you rest. If you think that this space will stay clean, no foreign, so to speak, objects will enter the space, then you know that you always have the safe haven you can go to when you are overwhelmed, when you are drained. We talked about the first episode, right? How quickly we can get drained because of all the noise we must face every single day. So we really deserve this one space to rest. And if we live alone, let's also make a deal with ourselves that we will keep this one space clean. I have tendency to create a small mess around me because to be honest, I find it useful. So I have 3 notebooks on one side of my couch because every notebook is for different things, different type of notes. I have my ebook reader also there, and a paper book, because sometimes I want to read from ebook reader, sometimes I need a paper book. I'm looking around right now when I'm recording this podcast, so I have also nail clippers and a small hairbrush. Hairbrush is actually for my relax, because in the evenings I really like brushing my hair for a minute or two, like going deep to the skin, because it's part of my relaxing rituals. I actually recommend that. But what I'm trying to say is that yes, I have this tendency to create this small mess around me, but I also have one side of the couch that is always clean. Clean in a way that there are only the objects there that serve a clear function and that help me rest. So actually keeping things in order this way helped me stay organized. But also, every day that I keep my space clean, I have a bigger and bigger feeling of success. And my brain is very happy because the brain really likes to reinforce every activity that is connected with this feeling of being successful. So every time I feel so successful and happy that today again my special space it's clean. There are no dirty cups, no dirty teaspoons. I drink a lot of coffee. I feel so good. I feel so successful. So I know that my brain will want to keep this space clean even more. I hope you find this information useful. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment. I promise I will get back to you. I would also like to invite you kindly to follow the page on Facebook if you like to do such things. It's a page that has, so to speak, just been born, Home and Heart Methods. I plan to post there a link to every episode of a podcast and maybe also to add some additional information or answer any questions. So, in this episode, we tried to explain a bit how our brain functions in the environment where there are too many things to look at. It is scientifically proven that if we reduce the noise, for example, visual noise, we think clearer and we make fewer mistakes. We also introduced a simple technique as to how create in our home a space that will be truly ours and will serve as our safe haven. If I didn't explain it in details or if anything is unclear, please let me know. Thank you for the time you devoted to listening to this episode. I must say that I am a very shy, very introverted person, and recording this podcast, it's really for me a big step outside my comfort zone. So I just want to say thank you so much for being with me in this adventure. My name is Magdalena, and you listen to Home and Heart Methods. And today's music was kindly provided by Live Saturation on Pixabay. Thank you. See you next time.